Hello, chat. I may sound a bit different. The mic is positioned in a very precarious position. You might hear some more breathing here and there. I'm not really sure actually. The wind filter should capture most of it, I think, but it's not entirely off axis. Today is going to be a very interesting day. I had an idea and I just kind of wanted to get it going. And boy oh boy, is the idea good. Now you may hear some other noises here and there, but that's going to be intentional today. So prepare your ears today, prepare your hearts. Today's going to be a fun day today. But welcome. Now yesterday was my first day back, but I didn't really have time to like talk about stuff because it's, in VR. You're stuck in VR. It's kind of hard. So today instead is I just cut my glove by accident. I need to get some new gloves. Today we're going to do some catch up. I'll show you a bunch of cool things that I found and talk about a bunch of things that I did like buying. Hello, chat. And yes, you had the correct usage of the emotes. But yeah, if it doesn't load, that's on you. I can't help you. If your machine doesn't load this, then you're missing out. But welcome to today's stream. I tried to get a good camera angle for today, but didn't really work out in the same way that I wanted to. It's primarily because of the lighting and the camera and the space. I needed to push my desk back, but I didn't think it would require that much space. So we'll do that next time. However, it's still fun to do this. I got my pants and gloves. I have a basic face mask. Okay. We're going to talk about some things. One, today is going to be a bit of a hand cam stream, but in a way that you don't really expect. So just be ready for it, because I found a weird game. Like a really weird game. I don't know how long we'll play this for. People say total playtime is like 2 hours, so could be interesting. I have no clue, really. It's going to be a fun time. Then we're going to play some Cryptmaster, okay? I need to finish these word games, and I need to finish all these other games. So both Kenshi, Wordmaster, Road Warden. Until then, there's a lot of games that we need to finish. So we have to go through every single one and see how far we can possibly get. I'm not sure how far we can get today, but hopefully we get some more progress. Especially because like I forgot about this, but I was rewatching the VODs to like get a sense of like where we were. And there's these things called crypticisms that we found, but we just never bothered solving. So we will need to solve those today, eventually. But since I couldn't talk about my break yesterday, I'm going to talk about it now. The break was good. A very solid break. It's nice to be away from stream sometimes because it gives me time to just relax and think about things and like not really care about much. It's pretty funny too because like Missy, for the first time in like a long time, she's been in my like little streaming / office room. And boy oh boy, it's so funny because we used to have the stairs for her, right? The problem is that she no longer has those stairs, so for her, she won't walk down or jump off the bed unless she has like a stair. And the problem is that like she can do it, she just doesn't want to, like she's afraid to. And it's always funny to me to like see because it's like she can very easily jump onto beds and stuff. She just gets very whiny. So we had to build like an entire ramp for her out of blankets and pillows and like a footrest thing, which is nice. It's a very interesting setup. It's a very good ramp. It actually made me realize that I wasted money on a ramp because like I could have just made her one. But at the same time, the ramp is useful elsewhere. So, But I kind of realized that maybe we spoiled our dog too much because now she's kind of like she's more of a princess now. Like she really wants you to take care of her. And it's like, oh no, we have a dependent Chihuahua, right? Which is like the worst. She's not a bad dog. She's a good dog. She's just very dependent on people to do basic things, which is funny. And she will love to eat out of your hand only. And it's like, oh man, I can't do this. Also, there will be no more photos of Missy. My wife is afraid of being identified. And again, if you do try to identify us, you will be permanently banned. And you will be reported to the authorities. I think. I don't know if the like stalking laws actually matter. When you woke up today, you decided to throw it away. Yes, Queen Slay. Okay, that's beautiful waste of a beans. Now the ads are going to start. The scheduled ad break within 5 minutes. So this is going to be my tete-a-tete with all of subs only. So non-subs, if you don't see this or hear this, that's on you. But also don't sub because you don't actually get anything. I really don't know why Twitch has no value for subs. I've actually been thinking about, why Twitch subs are very, very low value, because it puts so much onus on the streamer to create value for it, which is a very weird ecosystem. It's a bit like Shopify, where it's like, you have like Shopify, which allows you to make your own store, or say, Squarespace, which allows you to make your own site, And the only reason that they make money is because these people, they rely on people creating content to monetize it. But unlike those platforms, Twitch itself has no way for you to do discovery as like a solo person that's under your own brand. Like you might be using like Squarespace behind the scenes, and then you pay them like a license fee, but you can't do that on like Twitch and like redirect to your own domain. Like everything goes through Twitch, and so therefore it makes more sense for me for Twitch to provide the value add, but they don't do so. I don't know why. You wanted a three-piece song about why you chose it. Oh yeah, I forgot about that rule. Honestly, if I remembered my rules, this place would be a much better place. Let me get a seat actually. So let me move this. I'll move it over here temporarily. Okay, there we go. That's much more comfortable. So, tete-a-tete with the subs. Hello subs. There's gonna be more emotes coming. As you know, the Where one was there. There's a couple more coming as well. I finally finished them. The problem is that they're waiting for like approval, and like these ones are taking longer than usual. The Where one actually got through in like a 30-minute time span, so they're getting better about approving my emotes. But I think these new ones were a bit weirder, especially the Arby's one. The Arby's one was weird, so like it might get canceled for like what it's showing, so I can't show it yet. But if Twitch allows it, I'm gonna show it on Discord as well, just because I think you'll like it. But for the time being, I can't show you because yeah, it's designed to script what's happening. I also ran into some issues actually uploading them, because I don't know why. It was just a random issue that I couldn't upload certain thumbnails and stuff, so... Like for the Riot thumbnail, I couldn't upload it for like the longest time. I had to wait till the next day, and I don't know why. But there will be more things coming soon for subs. Again, it's fascinating that streamers have to be the ones to provide value for subs, when theoretically Twitch takes like 70%. I always find their like model very, very interesting. The more that I learn about Twitch streaming, the more that I wonder why people even bother trying to make Twitch streaming like their career, right? To me, it's just a waste of time and money, which is why I do it, because it's more of a for fun thing for me. But for some people, it's kind of like what they try to do as a day-to-day basis. And every business decision that they make, since it directly impacts you as a streamer, I'm always very surprised when they do it, because it never seems to be well thought out in terms of how they want you to approach things. It's a very funny way of doing things. I don't know why they do it. However, it seems like it's getting better or worse. I'm not really sure, but it seems like they're starting to open up more different policies. The Plus program has been, well, it's if you don't know, there's a program apparently where if you don't get enough subs, even as a partner, if you don't get enough subs, you actually earn less. So it's like you still have to like grind the game even as like a partner to earn like a fair share, which is like nuts to me. And I'm again, this is like tied into the UGC talk from yesterday when we did the VR chat stream. This idea of like, okay, how do you extract value from people who make the content without alienating the people who make the content? Because then you have nothing left, right? And it's a very fascinating sort of look into how these businesses can like operate and how they figure out, like how they approach monetization in a almost free-form sandbox form. But yeah, all that to say that yeah, subs get no value for being here. So good luck and Godspeed. Welcome back, non-subs. So as I mentioned, no more Missy photos, but I will update you on her. She still sleeps on my body. It's very funny actually, because my god, she keeps sleeping on the chat. She would like, okay, so it's so weird because she's a weird looking dog. She's more long than she is wide. Like she's a very long dog, and we don't know why. She's also very skinny, but like she doesn't. It's not like she's hungry. Like she has food all the time. There's like food everywhere. Although maybe she is fatigued from like eating kibble and like stuff, but you know, there's not many good food options besides us cooking it, and most of the time we don't have time. So, well, it's also just because like we don't really know how to cook for a dog. But in general, right? She's fairly skinny, but she's not unhealthy skinny. She's just like a normal like size dog. But because she's also like a smaller dog, the way that her body drapes over you is like very, very funny. She's almost like a weird towel, almost, or like a very skinny, I don't know, tube sock. I call her a tube sock. So every time I'm like, honey, look at that tube sock. And it's nice. But yeah, it was a good break. Just kind of like hung out the entire time. The voices in my head quieted, so I got away from all of you, which was a huge boon. I always find like a good long break from anything is a good way to reset and like regain a level of like perspective of what you want to do. Especially because like, I don't know how to say this, but like internet culture is fascinating, right? Like internet culture is so much of so many people, I guess like how do I say this? Obsessing over minor details that don't really matter, and then ignoring the things that should matter in their lives. I mean, that's internet culture in general, right? It feels like it's amplified though, because in real life, when you obsess over something in real life, it can get just as bad. It's why people fainted when Michael Jackson showed up on like stage. But it seems like the occurrence of it seems to be lower, and I don't know if it's because of the fact that the most vocal people online, aka the people who like talk at all online, are the people who are obsessed in like some way, right? Like I'm like, you know what I mean? I did like the VOD, the pre-stream on like the whole parasocial thing, and it's always in the back of my head that all of you are obsessed in some way, right? Which is bad. It's like good and bad at the same time. Well, as you know, it's like always bad. It's only ever good if you enjoy the content, right? If you can reasonably sort of like detach yourself from the people behind it and you're just focused on the content, then it's fine. But I'm 100% certain that many of you are obsessed and you will be cut off at some point, right? That is to say that I don't appreciate the obsession. I actually think it's weird and cringe, and you should stop that. But if you enjoy the content, then you're allowed to stay, right? But thinking about it, like it's fascinating how the only people who really join into these types of contents are the ones who are very liable to get extremely obsessed over something, which is unfortunate. I think there's a space where people can just make content for people to consume without having to deal with the obsessive types. The problem is that when you make content at all, you always attract some level of the obsessive types. Smile. And it's always important to sort of keep that in like mind whenever people do things. Especially when you consider that Twitch as a whole feels like a space for the most interesting facets of humanity, if that makes sense. Like there's a lot of things that we all do collectively that I think separates us. You know, it's like the wheat from the chaff, but instead of like good wheat and like chaff, we're actually the chaff that's separated from the wheat. Like we're like the weirdos. We like, you know, the corn that has the fungus that like people eat? Yeah, we're the corn with the fungus that like people eat, and the rest of the corn is like being harvested for like, you know, corn syrup. Chat, we never get to be corn syrup. But yeah, I find it interesting when you take a step back and you realize like, yeah, no one really cares IRL. It's why VTubing is so interesting in the sense of like, you can do whatever you want and nobody cares at all about what you do IRL, which is kind of like the perfect mix of the two. I'm kind of glad that VTubing kind of kicked off because it's celebrity stuff beforehand, right? But before Kizna Eye, for instance, right? You had to have a face to yourself. You had to attach your name to something. Like you had to be your own person, and you had to effectively sell your own image. But it's a weird expectation when you think about how that works. A lot of people sort of like rationalize it as this idea of like, if you benefit from the public life, therefore you must suffer the consequences, right? But I always found that to be weird. The people who want to make things, the people who are very interested in like making things a reality, they're not there to suffer. They're there because they want to make things. It just so happens that they have to be in the public eye, but most people just want to make things. And creating things and sharing things is like an inherently fun thing to like do. It's kind of like how the world has mostly worked for the like all of time. It's why we have these traditions across multiple cultures of like sharing things orally, right? Or like you know, or like visually, or like, you know, even in like writing, right? Books, music, stories, you know, spoken word, everything. And to sort of see that, I guess like a perversion of that's being, I guess, exploited by the public, both by, you know, some creators, which then affects all creators, and then also by, you know, the consumers themselves for when they get too parasocial. I find it to be very, very sad to see. Because you walk around IRL, right? Just like take time away and you just enjoy life a bit. And you realize it's so strange to me that we get obsessed with other people. Because realistically, there's nothing special about any of us. And that we're primarily just here to vibe with each other. And that when one person makes it weird, it ruins it for everyone else. Which is very, very frustrating, if that makes sense. So yeah, all this to say that I still don't trust any of you. This is why I take so many safety precautions on Extreme, because all of you genuinely are weird, chat. Every single one of you. And I stand by the statement that you have to have contempt for your chat to really, really be able to enjoy streaming. Because otherwise, if you give chatters an inch, they'll take a mile. However, today is not just a day for me to, rag on all of you, because as I mentioned, I enjoy actually showing things to you guys. So I actually get to show you guys some really cool things. You have a lesson now. Go ahead. And some really cooler things. So I've been doing some research, basically. So when I make music, right, I like to see, okay, what do you incorporate into it? And music is a very interesting space to sort of be in, because music tends to be localized, if that makes sense. Like a lot of your music lessons and a lot of your music styles come from things that you see in your own culture. So for instance, you might have seen stuff in, Western culture, and then it affects your musical style all the way through. This is in contrast to, like, say, if you're over in, like, Asia, you would learn, like, the Asian music style. Sorry, the, like, Asian music scale. Let me find the guy. What's that music guy? Here we go. There's a person on YouTube. Maybe I'll put it over here. This is a good window spot, actually. Yeah, chat. Also, you don't have to tell me if you're leaving. Chat, this is a perfectly... You're just allowed to leave. I don't actually care. I don't actually care about you. Like, any of you. But this is a great channel for seeing this stuff. Okay, well, the iPad's in the way. But their name... Okay, well, the iPad's in the way. Is Faria Faraji. I hope I'm not butchering your game. They do amazing videos on, like, musical systems and, like, what's going on in them. On their second channel. This is their main channel where they do a lot of their, like, music, where they actually do and they compose and they play, like, actual music that in the style that he, like, puts them in, and he really pays respect and like tribute and, like, actually takes care to learn the musical system of these songs. His second channel, though, if I can find it. God, why don't people never link their other channels? You son of a bitch. Glad chat. Give me a moment. Somewhere down here. I don't know. Faria. God damn it. Faria. Faraji. Oriental. I know that's a weird term. Orientalism. Here we go. Here we go. Middle Eastern. God, there was a whole... You know what it is? I think he has it on the one channel. Actually, wait, maybe there's a playlist for it. Is there a rant? Canadian songs. Canadian songs! Wait, I've never heard this. What do you mean Canadian songs? I'm very curious about this one. But yeah, the whole point of his channel is that he also discusses a lot of, like, what these music systems are, and, like, why a lot of these, like, compositions in, like, other places, they don't really care about the musical style. Like, when you hear Middle Eastern music, right? Let's say in, like, Assassin's Creed, or, like, in well, actually, Assassin's Creed is probably not the best example. Like, the earlier Assassin's Creed is actually, like, carried. But, like, let's say Prince of Persia, some of the earliest ones, like Prince of Persia, Sands of Time. The music had, like, a flair to it that sounded like, what people associate with this idea of, like, the Middle East. But it isn't played at all like a Middle Eastern thing. What is this Canadian song? I'm gonna tell you right now, there is a whole other section of Canada. Like, Canada, to me, it's weird how Canada is sort of, like, laid out today. Canada effectively has, like, 3 major sections. It has, like, the very westernized section, which is, like, Ontario, Vancouver, Calgary, and stuff. It has, the native Canadian side, which is, like, Nunavut and, like, onwards. And then it has actually 4 sides. It has the French Canadian side, which is, like, very, very French Canadian, which is very pretty much only in Quebec and Montreal. That's the only place where you find it. And honestly, they're so separated to the point where it's I don't know if you guys know this, but, like, Quebec, Canada has, like, always tried to, like, secede from Canada as a whole, to be its own place, because, like, it's very different. Even though, like, we had to learn French across all of Canada, French is not like being a French Canadian is, like, not like a thing outside of Quebec as a whole. And then you have the 4th angle, which is, like, Newfoundland, which is, like, the original settler colony, if that makes sense. And boy, oh boy, is their English completely different. And this song is a very, very good representation of, like, the various flavors that you find, right? because again, in the more westernized parts like Ontario and Vancouver and Calgary, we just sound like weird Americans, if that makes sense. Like it just doesn't sound really different from like the rest of the Western Hemisphere in terms of like, or like from the rest of like America, if that makes sense, right? And it's always interesting to sort of like hear these compositions because like I know a few like folk songs as like well, like Canadian folk songs because I was curious about that too. And it's always fascinating to sort of see like the evolution of it and to see like how it went like through. Here we go.
Disclaimer: if you're watching this video sometime after the upload, please check.
Okay, this video is extremely good. So again, this is the video that I mentioned last time, where he talks about like, okay, well, what are the different musical systems, right? And then he talks about how the idea of like what is like Middle Eastern music in like a Western music system is completely different. It doesn't have the 16 octaves. It doesn't have like the many different like microtones, and it doesn't have the like complex. I don't know how to say it. Expressive playing that you would actually find on the real instruments, right? It's mainly done on like VSTs with like virtualized instruments, synthesized sounds that don't actually sound correct. Really great.
Clarification
Almost like
corrections
rant.
will probably be found there.
من خب توی فضای موسیقی ایرانی بزرگ شدم. پدرم استاد سنتور و ویولون، معلم موسیقی. خودم هم سنتور میزنم.
نه خودم سنتور میزنم. اوکی، من خب موسیقی برات بذارم، موسیقی که اسمشون هست پرژن میوزیک و اینا رو یوتیوب.
I want you to listen to the songs too, okay? When you listen to it, it's because this is very important to the rest of what I'm about to show you.
تو فقط بهم بگو خودت که ایرانی هستی، موزیسین ایرانی هستی، بهم بگو اگر به نظر تو چیز دیگه آیا موسیقی ایرانی هست یا نه.
هندی اسم میکنم.
آره کسی ایرانی بدید یا نه؟
نمیدونم.
این چی؟
این که ارمنی هستن، دودوکه دیگه. این که دیگه اصلا هندی شد. یا مثلا پاکستانی.
ایرانی نیست به نظر تو؟
نه.
اگه میگفتم بهت عربیه.
This is the craziest song, I think. All these songs, right? From like a very, I guess, like stereotypical Western ear, it sounds very Middle Eastern, but they're not because he goes into it later in the video. This idea of like Orientalism and this idea of like this fascination with the Middle East and the idea of these like stereotypes that they all live in like deserts, despite the fact that like the East as a whole is a very diverse piece of land, just like it is in like the West. Like it's you know what I mean? Like there's snow in like different places, dude. Like we have snow in like at the top of mountains. It's all the same. But just this idea of like this is what desert music sounds like, and then seeing that applied over to like Asian music as well. It's a fascinating talk as a whole, and it's interesting to see the different arguments that he like makes too. Not arguments, but like rather the examples that he like shows, because it really opens your eyes to like, wow, our idea of like music is like very constrained to a Western sense. I've been sort of like tackling this for a while now on my own because I care about, I guess, like the music sense of things. And I want to get in more tune with, I guess, like my culture roots in terms of like the instruments being used. Because honestly, chat, it's really hard to find my instruments over here. So my culture's instruments are very strange. If you think of it from like a, I guess like your traditional Western instrument sense. Like here we have the violin and stuff, and we have like, the 6-string guitar. Is it 6 strings? Yeah, the 6-string guitar. You maybe have like a 8-string bass or something. That's the most that you'll go, right? Yeah, we also have I'm not even kidding you, a 1 to 2 string guitar, like a single string guitar almost, a single string violin. Like we have a bunch of like really interesting instruments that simply don't get airtime because you can't find them over here in the West. It's very hard to find them. And yet when you go to like temples and stuff, especially in like Toronto, temples anywhere, they always seem to have the instruments like on hand for like festivals and like stuff. And I sort of went down like a rabbit hole to sort of see like, how many instruments are there that are like considered traditional, or like what's the actual like history behind them? Because I know them and I'm intimate with them in the sense of like, and this is kind of going back to that talk of like, what does it mean to be like, say, German American, or like Italian American, or like German Canadian, Italian Canadian, Vietnamese Canadian, Chinese Canadian, like all these other terms. is this idea of like your ethnic cultural background is such a major influence in your life that though you may be Canadian or American, you also basically live in this separate world too. It's a very interesting sort of like look into multiculturalism. And boy, oh boy, did I find out a lot of about these instruments. So I have a bunch of these names now that I don't remember, but I have examples of a bunch of these instruments that I found were really, really cool. So I'm gonna give you some of them. If I can get the correct link, so let's make sure I can open these up and these are fine because I'm pretty sure. Oh god, it's like a whole mix of my bookmarks are not organized, chat. I need to organize them so badly. I mean, to be fair, I'm getting like a ton of like tabs. Was it this one? No, wait, no. This was not it. Well, this is like a good example of like an entire composition with, I guess, a more traditional set of Vietnamese instruments. So, sorry, I didn't even give like context. The reason why I'm doing this is because I want to sort of see how they incorporate this musical style within my own music. Because again, because I grew up in the West, right? So much of my music influence is Western music. Like if you tell me to go kind of like funky on something, I can go kind of funky. But at the same time, like if you tell me to like pull off something like this, I can also pull off something like this. It's like how do you sort of like bridge the two together? How do you combine them into like a very unique flavor? I don't know. But it's in my head, right? When I think of like these musical styles, I find that I'm very limited to the instruments that are present in these musical styles. Like I never think to reach for, you know, the zither when I'm thinking or the zatar when I'm thinking of like how to, you know, incorporate strings into some instrument, or like I'm not thinking how to like, you know, incorporate the like mandolin or like something. Yeah, when I think of like Western music, I always think, you know, towards the guitar, the bass. And when I think towards Eastern music, I don't think towards those. I think towards other things. It's a very fascinating divide mentally, and I wondered if there was a way to combine the two musical styles. So I did like a whole deep dive while I was on my break, and I found a bunch of really good like songs. Also, note this whole stream might actually get me banned over in Vietnam because over in Vietnam actually. If you don't know this is the craziest thing ever. There's a giant list of the like, okay, the most censored countries in the entire world. We are closer to North Korea at the bottom of the list than we are to China near the bottom of the list, which is crazy. But when you see it in terms of like the objective points that they assign, which I mean, it's kind of weird that you assign points to it, but it's this like group of journalists who basically try to rank, okay, how free are you to like talk about things in the world. We are like decimal points away from North Korea, and we're like the sixth most censored country in the entire world compared to China, where we're 6 whole points away. So it's like, okay, listen, you don't want to be at the bottom of the list. Like even America is like at the center, okay? Like at the very top is like Norway and like, you know, Finland and like stuff. Like in the middle is like Canada, America, and then at the bottom is like everything else. So it's like you don't really want to be at the bottom, right? Like that scale, the scale is really about who's like the top 5, and everyone else has some serious problems. And it's funny is because music censorship, the way it happens is that you must approve music before it goes out. So artists will tend to self-censor. Some of these songs are going to be war songs because the various wars that happened in Vietnam's history was a very major part of why Vietnam is the way that it is today. Especially when you consider, I guess, like not just the Vietnam War, but the idea of like what is like, I guess, like the quote unquote 1,000-year war with like China as well. There's a whole bunch of interesting sort of like cultural things. I'm just using the like terms that are colloquially known because I think that's how most people know it. So let me fix my hair. It's all over the place. And it's a fascinating look into all this music history. Oh god. There we go. Okay. God. Whoever made the Sony like headphones, It was made by an extrovert. There's a feature called Speak to Chat, which activates if you accidentally press it for too long with 3 fingers. Which, by the way, happens every time you take on and off the headphones. It's so stupid. Anyways, but yeah, some of these are war songs, and some of these war songs are written from various perspectives. There's a very famous composer who was actually censored by both the northern and the southern side of Vietnam for his compositions. So it's gonna be a very interesting look into the musical stuff because boy oh boy is it complex. So if I have any Vietnamese viewers, I'm sorry. This is gonna get banned within Vietnam in like half a second. I'm not even kidding you. Their censor is insane. It's like the Great Firewall. I'm not gonna bother pronouncing this because none of you will even like understand it. This is not a war song, by the way. It's just an example of like what this song or like what these instruments sound like when applied to like a very Asian musical sense, if that makes sense. Surprisingly, this sound is also very commonly found within Chinese music as well, because synthesization of like Vietnam happened like thousands of years ago, roughly. So there's a lot of like similarities. Where you find differences are more in the very, very, I guess like cultural. I don't know how to say it. It's like you have Vietnam as a whole, but it's really an amalgamation of various cultures. So, say like the Hmong or something, or the Hmong. But these instruments, in particular, you cannot find these over in the West. And yet, if you tell somebody that, yeah, it's a two-handed guitar that you put on your lap that has like 16 strings, they're like, that's sick. And you can play anything with it. It sounds so good. Or that thing. This thing right here. The one single stick. So it's one string. He plucks it. That stick determines the like tone of the entire thing. The guitar, it's tuned very differently as well. The dancers look extremely awkward. But this thing is tuned very, very, very differently. The flutes sound very different too. They use like a bronze reed inside, like a copper reed. The percussions. Percussion is a very, very global phenomenon for like music. Basically, percussion is it's such a pervasive aspect of music, like globally, that basically I'm pretty sure every single place in the world has experimented with the idea of drums. And I think it's because drums are a very easy instrument to get access to. You take 2 sticks, you find a rock, and you just slam the sticks against a rock, and you make some pretty cool, like, sounds. It's a very interesting look into sort of how, I guess, like, everyone comes to different forms of music through the same, I guess, like, bass, I guess, like, structures, right? Because the drum playing in like this, and like the very percussive, like, sounds in like this, sounds very different from, like, say, African drumming. Sounds very different from, like, what is Western drumming in, like, America. Sounds very different from, like, like any other drum beats anywhere else. But it's still the same sort of, like, core concept of, like, take 2 sticks, slam it on something, make a noise. It's why I love musical styles, and it's why I love exploring them, because there's so much wealth of knowledge out there, and so many different ways that you can, like, express yourself, that it feels like a waste not to. This guy is I don't know how you play this. I tried it once and I kind of get it. It's like you like pull the string and you tighten it and you like tune it a bit like left and right and like stuff like that. And you can go like backwards, forwards, left or right. Like it's almost like a joystick. But I just don't understand how to make it sound good, which is what this guy's doing. You also hear this too. Listen very carefully. There's an expression to it that sounds very, very Asian, right? Because you play your guitar, right? Like a Western guitar, and you might get something like this. You might get something like where is it? You might get something like here we go, like this. You might get Atari by Hiatus. Very different style of like playing like a stringed instrument compared to like this. And it's just in the playing style, right? Realistically, these are tuned very, very similarly to like a Western musical scale where it's like, basically the exact same notes for the most part. It's just those like tones in between that, like, this thing has like what, 20 frets or something. So you have a lot more tones in between that you can kind of play with. Oh, sorry, not like 20 frets. You have you have a shit ton of strings on this one, and then you can like play them in like different parts, and you can like combine them to like play microtones, and you can like slide on it. It's very like interesting to see the way that people express themselves differently despite having the same systems. But, like, that's what leads it to like feel like more Asian music or more Vietnamese music, if that makes sense. Though this is very like, this is more of a royal court song. This is traditionally for like the royalty in like Vietnam, which doesn't exist anymore. So. And there's a bunch of these examples. So that was just like the first example of like a full thing. This isn't an organized list, so I have no clue what I'm gonna pull up. I think this is also a traditional court music. I think. Oh, this was a good example of like how we use the Western guitar, and then the Cuban bolero style. So the Cuban bolero style was like a huge influence in like I want to say modern day Vietnamese music in the last like 80 to 100 years. So you hear it a lot, and this is a great example of how it's being mixed into like the more traditional sounding stuff. I think this might be one of the war songs. This might get me banned over in the Vietnam. It is insane that she can hit those notes without even opening her like mouth. She opens her like mouth for the first like fraction, and for the rest of it, she's just going. That's insane. Especially at that volume, they must have a microphone like stuck in her throat or something. That's again to push that level of like volume with your mouth closed. It's very hard. But actually, this is a good example too. Even the singing style, right? We all have the same voice. We all have the same capabilities with our voices, right? The human voice is a very, very sort of like familiar instrument because we all have it, and thus we can sort of imagine ourselves in a weird way. It's like the one instrument that we can all sort of like attune ourselves to, because you can actually imagine and feel your vocal cords moving when you think about trying to sing these like notes. But specifically, it's the way that it's sung, and it's the different kinds of notes and the way that they flow that defines it as this type of music. Even the singing alone is like a whole system. It's fascinating. And the drum usage is like very, 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 very interesting too. I'm not even kidding you. I think the only time I've ever heard this style of music like really represented well within the West, not just this idea of like what like Vietnamese music, but like in general, just more complex forms of and like interweavings of instruments and like voice has been from like hip hop beats, where they sample and they cut so much of it, so as to form like a very interesting soundscape. Especially when you get into the more experimental stuff like Flying Lotus, where it's like, okay, his stuff sounds like it takes so many different roots from this, as well as like from other like different types of music as like well, where they play with the structure a lot and they play with the interplay between the various sounds a lot, where it's not just a very basic melody progression and you just keep on going down like a scale or something, right? It's complex. There's more to it. Even the percussive beats feel like a response to a narrative that's like happening here musically. And then you have stuff like this like flute again with like I think like a bronze reed in like side. It's a single reeded instrument. It's a very interesting instrument. I like this guy's playing too. And this is like a very classic instrument. It's I forget the name in like China. To the Hamoob, it's like something Mao. It's like MAU, and then to the Vietnamese, it's like Sao Mao, because it's we don't have the same accent as the Hamoob, so it's like roughly it's like the same instrument across because like technically it was like imported and like exported. The whole history of even like the like trade and the movement of these sounds and these instruments, it's fascinating too when you think about it because it's such a global, I guess, like trade of sounds across the entire eastern continent that you get so many mixes across of it. But I really like his like playing of it. And it sounds so different from a Western flute. Like, okay, so let's just I don't know, let's like flute beatbox. This guy is a classic. This guy. Whatever happened to this guy? This is like 17 years ago. Holy shit, this is so long ago. What happened to him? I remember seeing this as a kid. I was like, yo, kind of sick actually. But yeah, it sounds completely different. The way that it like is expressed, but also just the way that the instrument sounds itself. It almost has like a very, I mean, obviously it's made out of it's literally a piece of bamboo versus like metal. So there's actually one video of like somebody playing these, which is so funny because it starts off is in such a cool way. Because the way that you traditionally carry these, I'm not even kidding you. You carry these like bamboo flutes in a larger piece of bamboo. So traditionally, you would use like a large piece of bamboo as like a box for these smaller pieces of bamboo. The large bamboo you can't play, but the small bamboo you can. And it looks so cool because he whips it out, kind of like Cloud does with his swords on his like bike in like Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, and then he pulls out the flute, plays like the first three notes, plays it wrong. Like it's not even like he's like wrong in the sense of like wrong to like a sense of music. I mean like he plays it wrong as into the music that he's trying to play because he's trying to play a specific song. And I'm like, my brother in Christ, like what are you doing, man? You look so cool. So you know it's hard. Also, because my hands are tied, I'm not gonna be able to like link all of these. I basically only have one hand. You also have this instrument, which is this one sounds crazy. This one, I'm not a fan of the way it sounds like, but I recognize the use that it could have in certain musical pieces. The problem I think is that I'm not a fan of it personally, because even though I understand it and I remember it from all the temples that I went to, the problem is that I think I'm viewing it from like a different, again, musical system, right? It's weird how you have to like retune your ears to understand and really appreciate this sound. Hello, chat. We're doing a music dive, so just be aware this is a music day. Well, not a full music day, just for the next like 20 minutes. I mean, I've been trying to learn how to play some more interesting music and incorporate more of my culture. Okay, listen, buddy, this is not your time, all right? It's the oboe time. What's funny? Okay, I want you to look at this video because it made me crack up. The first time I saw it. He's getting ready to play, right? He puts it in. He does like a small squeak. He's like, I'm gonna go. The drum guy says, no, it's my turn. He's really into it, chat. I think the most famous example of this instrument is probably in like the Dragon Festival. Like if you've ever seen like a dragon dance, this is probably the best way to like hear this instrument. The problem is that because my ear is so tuned towards like the Western side of things, right? It's so hard for me to understand what this instrument sounds like and like how to use it and how to enjoy its like depth, right? Because there's a depth to the way that he's like playing it. Like really listen to it, try your best to. The way that he's playing it is extremely both expressive and also surprisingly complex given the amount of sounds that this thing can like make. Just for context, each one is like tuned the way that it is based on like the size of the thing. And you have some of them have like a thing that you can like twist near the bass to like change the like tuning of it, go up and down like a tiny bit of the scale, but for the most part you're like locked into like a, a pretty set like scale. The most fascinating part about this that I had like an epiphany of when I was listening to it, right? Is that this is probably what people felt like when they first heard jazz. Because when you first hear jazz, right, and you're like, everything's wrong, but you don't really understand the complexity of what they're doing. And then you realize, like, wow, it's not really wrong. They're just playing in like a very different style, and they're incorporating a lot more complex notes that aren't necessarily tuned to the Western, music scale. This is what that feels like. I feel like I'm rediscovering jazz for the first time. I'm trying to figure out, okay, why does it sound the way that it does? Why does it both appeal to me, but also make me go like, huh, something feels off? Like, why does it give me a sense of both things at the same time? It's a weird feeling. It's a very weird feeling. I'm trying to figure out how to, make sense of it. Because again, it's a very fascinating instrument, IMO. And it's fair to invoke that kind of feeling. I think it's indicative of the fact that like, it's not necessarily bad. It's just an understanding thing. Because again, you see what jazz is today, and you see how like good jazz can get. Both in like the very complex, very like out there compositions, all the way down to like bad, not like good. Well, I say down, but like bad, not like good. The way it's like so approachable, but still very much has those same, I guess, like bass elements to it. I, th- I think there's something here. Again, this is all my research to figure out how can I best use these in my own music. And honestly, it might take a lifetime before I truly understand what this really does sound like. The problem too is that I don't know if this is actually a good piece. This guy, like, it could be his first time. It's for sure this guy's first time. But this guy, I have no clue if it's his first time. So one interesting thing about researching music too is that when you don't know the thing itself, you have no gauge for what's good and what's bad. Like if I asked you all of a sudden to go and figure out, okay, like what is really good Atlantis music, right? It's like, well, I don't know. You might hear like a composition from SpongeBob and go, wow, that's a great song from the lost city of Atlantis. And then you show it to like a real, is it Atlantean? No, I'm pretty sure an Atlantean is like from Atlanta, like an Atlantean. And they would go, sorry, this is cringe. And it's like, I don't know. Like, is this good? Well, why did they save this? Oh yeah, I say this because this is a much more, I guess, easily understandable playing of this instrument. But I still don't know if it's good. The one thing that I will say is that the way the musicals, like the note choices are so good. It's an idea of like, okay, how do you deal with these tones that kind of exist in between, right? We call them flats and sharps, but there's also these like tones that don't exist within the flat sharp system of the Western musical scale that also kind of like don't really exist on like the like A B C D E F G musical scale where it they kind of sit in a space that's kind of in between and kind of like off center from those very rigid marks on the scale. He's using these like tones, and it sounds so good. Like when you really think about it, it sounds really interesting and good. I will say, just it's so unfortunate that it sounds like somebody's like toy flute. Because again, in the West, this sounds like a toy that you would give to your child. But that's to my, that's to my Western like ear that's like used to Western sounds. Well, what's this one? No, that was an okay demonstration. There's a better demonstration of the drums. Trying to find you like the good stuff, chat. This was a weird demonstration. Okay, chat. This instrument is very hard to like explain, but basically, yeah, this is how you play it. Because when you need to play it, right, you kind of have to hold it in some way. Traditionally, you'd play it on the floor, right? But you also only have two hands. The problem is that it's a one-string violin that you also have to like obviously press it down, right? But there's no like shoulder guard. Like we don't play it in like the Western style of the violin where it has like the shoulder guard. Instead, you have to hold it with your foot so it stays stable, or you put it on like a rock. I also found it funny how like cracked these kids are because like this guy does a pretty decent beat. He's like pretty on like beat. This guy just pops out some pretty decent violin playing. I don't know what this kid's doing. And then the like dad is like, yes, farm me views. Let me record you. They're pretty cracked. And then and then it falls apart. Like they start to get bored. But you know what I mean. It's fine. What about this one? Why they save this one? This guy looks like he hates life. Oh yeah, this was a demonstration of like the way that the playing of the percussive stuff differs so much from like say the Western system. Okay, don't talk. I don't need a tutorial, please. This is the Vietnamese like Academy of Music. It's sorry, Vietnam's Academy of Music. This feels very similar to like other, I guess, like drum performances that you may have seen, but that's just because drums to me all sound the same, and I really want to understand the drums more. It's very hard for me to understand drums because to me it's all like beats. The only time I really can differentiate between drums is when the drum is either really small to really large, or you have the cymbals that you like crash, which to me has more differences. Oh god, sorry. The ads are kicking. So yeah, just deal with it. Jesus Christ, play the drums already. Like, okay, see that? I can understand the tonal difference between the large drum and the small drum. But the like large drum to the second largest one, I'm like, I can't really tell. Okay, never mind. I can definitely tell. It's like here, it's very, very pronounced, but. Yeah, percussion stuff is cool. But there was one particular, this one put my wife to sleep. This one was like, this is basically a chant, right? And I've talked about musical chanting before. The idea that in a lot of chanting, a lot of what you say is just like nonsense, because you're really there to like capture a vibe, like a spiritual vibe, if that makes sense. This is a good demonstration of that within like a Vietnamese temple. Like if you hear this, if you've been to a Vietnamese temple, you're probably gonna fall asleep to this because this is actually, to us, this is kind of like sleeping. This thing puts you to like sleep. It's a very weird trance like state. By the way, her like channel is amazing. She plays a lot of really good like music, but it's a lot of traditional sort of like chanty music. So this is her tutorial, by the way, on like how to play this stuff.
Gõ nhịp một, gõ rất đơn. 1 2 1 2 2 1 đấy. 1 2 1 1 2 1 2 2 2.
She's just saying 1 2 1 2 1 2 2 2 2.
1 2 1 1.
And she incorporates chanting at some point.
Son 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 son.
Here we go.
Son 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 si son fa son re fa son fa re son fa re do re fa son re do si son re.
It's absolute nonsense. Like but again, this is like, it's a thing that I pointed out before, how a lot of religious chanting is about incorporating nonsense. Like ancient Latin chanting, the like meme chanting Latin chant that I always play whenever things happen or like aliens appear. that has like nonsense words. It has nonsense Latin words. It's just there to almost like be like almost like a vocal stim or like a very like it's like scat almost, right? It's like scat. Which is funny because if you think about how, like the history of like scat and like other types of forms of other musics, those came from gospel, which is again, it's like, you know, effectively a form of like prayer music, which is what chanting is. It's a whole fascinating history of like stuff. Musical styles.
Đấy, khi phải hết nếu không mình có hát này. Son này cốc sinh thay một thu trên ngàn cách tình cách bầu trời cùng Phật.
Even okay, this one was also a great video to demonstrate like how the singing styles differ. Like her singing style, again, there's a very different singing style across various cultures, but in Vietnamese, the more traditional side sounds like that. It's a very, very interesting way of singing. And I really wish I could understand it more to really incorporate it into my stuff. What else was really good? Is this good? I think this is one of the worst songs that will probably get me banned over in Vietnam. So, you know what? We have like 2 more, which is good because it's about time anyways to move on. There's another fun little drum beat, this one. Go 3 more. This would not be remiss in like a really sick hip hop beat, right? It's like this. It's like this. Like this? Machiavelli! Oh, I always laugh when he says fucking Machiavelli. It's just out of nowhere, he just says Machiavelli.
Boys 2001. Emotional shall we see this bitch? Machiavelli.
Machiavelli! But you listen to the beat of that, and then you listen to the beat of this. Or like this. It wouldn't be remiss. It's a pretty good. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm actually still very surprised that people don't sample more straight from YouTube. I feel like if like a producer starts sampling from like random YouTube videos of like different sounds, they're gonna come up with some crazy shit. Now it's funny to sort of see this like drum instrument as like well because like traditionally like the oldest percussion instrument that we have or that we know about are like the bronze drums because there was a whole age of like the like bronze age of like Vietnam, and they were given as both gifts but also like you can actually play them. They sound so interesting. It's a bit like this noise, but the tone is almost like lighter because it's like made of metal, and it sounds so much more like boomy and bassy, but also like clearer in a way. It's a very weird instrument. There's also this. This reminds me a lot of like a different instrument, which I forget the name of. Like, I want you to listen to that and then listen to this.
Swim up to his castle.
Going up there, but that is a big mistake. Just look at the world around you. Right.
And yes, this instrument, like this is a real instrument, okay? It's called like it's literally just called rocks. It's just called the translation is like rocks. It's like just the rock instrument. So there's a larger version of it where they just hear. No, it's not the dude from the anime. This thing. It's a massive, what is it, xylophone? And I want to figure out how they first discovered this, right? How did you first discover this? Like, okay, maybe accidentally you drop something on like a rock and you're like, oh, sounds interesting. And then you accidentally drop something on like another rock and it sounds different. And you're like, that sounds cool. And then how do you then decide, I'm going to cut these rocks to make it sound like this? I'm going to build a giant ass instrument. And also, it's so unwieldy compared to the one that we just saw. The one that we saw, this one, he can play it without even moving. He plays it like standing in like a single spot, right? Very easy. Look at his movement, the guy here over here, because he's basically playing the smaller version of like that. What the fuck? This is a cover. There's okay, and it's various like versions of it, right? So you have the like, you know, the windpipe versions. You have the version that's like this. Then you have this one in the back, which is like, it's very hard to see, but it's basically like a giant scorpion tail of like different size pipes that also play like a very interesting sound. But his movement range, right? Now look at her struggle. Not struggle, but like she has to work like 10 times as a card. She's fighting for her life. If you want to play the highest note and the lowest note, and there's no way to like slowly move down the like curve, you're gonna have to run. What's crazy that it sounds very similar to the smaller version too. Also, the guys in the back, those are also like kind of like weird like pan drums. That I think they come in like a different video or like something. Here they don't actually come. I don't think. But it sounds the same as like the like large version. I wonder if there was like a practical limitation to the music that you could compose back then, right? Because imagine if back then this is all you really had, like, and your single like, you know, hovel had this thing, right? You're like, you know, tribe or whatever you call like a small community, right? I know the Vietnamese word, but like not the English word. And you just had this, and you had to like, you know, try to figure out, okay, how do you compose a song with this? And you want to do something that like goes across the scale in like wide jumps, and then you get your person to like play it, right? And then within the first 5 seconds, they're like sweating their like ass off because it's like 40. It's always above 40 there, right? And you realize you can't do that. Like the instrument is not physically, it's not physically possible to like play across the entire scale very, very hard and go back and forth, right? Like you can't do like a tame Impala. I won't play it. All you really can do is this. What's scary too is that like imagine how many times somebody accidentally broke this. If you've ever accidentally broken a rock, then you know that like rocks are both one of the hardest and like one of the softest things ever. If you hit them the right way, they'll just crack. If you hit them, you know, the wrong way, they'll just stay stable, or I guess vice versa. And it's funny to sort of see because like I can't imagine how many times somebody has accidentally broken the like village rock instrument. And it's like, we gotta find a new rock now, dude. Come on, these things drop every like couple hundred of every couple thousands of like years. It's like we have to wait for the sand to compress down. It's like you know what I mean? The small one is easier because all you need to do for the small one is just like hit it very lightly. This one you have to kind of slam it. But damn, that was good. And I love finding these like interesting instruments because of how different they are. We also have is it this one? No. I also wanted to show you this one because it was fascinating to me. This guy does a really good job of singing in Vietnamese to the point where his like accent is very hard to like hear. Well, you can hear that he has like an accent to it, but you wouldn't expect it from who he is. Not him, sorry. Well, kind of them too, yeah. This guy. I'm so sorry. It's so funny to me because it's like the way he like there's a stereotype, right, that people go over to the East to like find like a partner. Where like people leave their country to find a partner. You know what I mean? It's like it's that whole stereotype thing. That's what he looks like. But it's like he probably isn't that. And he actually does a great job of singing it. He does a really good job. You can also tell he's like very, very nervous.
Gió lên rồi căng buồm cho khoái, gắt trèo lên ta nướng khô khoai. Hò nhậu cho tiêu hết mấy chai, quán hơi quán hò, bỏ nghe mày nghiêng ngửa là hò.
But you can definitely hear his like accents, right? Obviously, it's like not perfect, but again, it's really good.
Không ai trông chèo, không
It's just unfortunate that he just looks like a walking stereotype.
ai trông chèo. Hò là hò
I also really like her like voice, the way she like dips into like the whistle tone. It's like fascinating. There's one last thing that I want to show you as like well, two last things. One is a bit of a musical piece that I found was interesting because it's something that you don't really see somebody play live. It's not related to Vietnamese music, so this is just stuff that I wanted to sort of like check out because I was curious about this. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed the journey down why like my discovery of like different Vietnamese sounds. I try to get like a better sense of like that musical system to reincorporate it back into my music, because all I really know is like tempo music, which is like it's very Resident Sleeper for me. But then I had like this like idea of like, all these other sounds that we hear in like different types of music, right? Say drum and bass, for instance. Was that ever done by somebody like live? Because drum and bass, if you've heard drum and bass, it's pretty intense, right? Chat. This guy does drum and bass live. Holy shit, this guy's trash. That right there. I want you to watch his left hand, which is over here. Right there. That was really good. Your turn, streamer. I'm like, I just go like this, and I'm like, and it's like, yeah, he did it, woo, he did it, woo. Honestly, my drumming stuff is so bad that I can appreciate how good he is. Again, watch his left hand as he hits this. I'm gonna play it in half speed. Look, wait, almost, right here. Listen, right here. Holy shit! He hits like 8/16 like immediately. By the way, normal playback speed. By the way, insane. It is perfectly in rhythm too. Perfectly. Holy shit! Stick gonna beat the drums with himself. You think I can do this? Chad, this person isn't human. They're inhuman. Every part of his body is moving. If he could glue drumsticks to his elbows and use them to play too, he absolutely would have. Right? You can tell that he feels limited by his human body. He must be excited that like, Elon Musk is like making the Neuralink because it means that he can attach more arms to his body to then play even better drums. Oh, and okay, this is why I said too that like drums themselves can be their own instrument itself, because like, a lot of people think it just keeps the beat, right? Like almost like a boring metronome, but it can be its own compositional piece because there are certain types of drums that sound very, very different, and when you combine them, it actually makes a very interesting composition, which is this. You're so good that you became one with the drums, the stick. So good. Do you see a human, chat? No. I see just a pair of drumsticks floating around. This composition of the beats, right here. It sounds so good. Then pulls out fucking barrels. I could listen to that for the entire day, but we have to move on. Drums create the groove. Yeah, or like drums are capable of a groove. Just a lot of people don't really realize that, like, I don't know. A lot of instruments in like people's minds are like very simple, right? Where they have a role. But like when you get down to it, like every instrument is capable of a lot. Like a lot. You can do a lot with every single instrument. It's all about how good you are. That's why talentless people like me show you YouTube videos instead of playing it. Anyways, yesterday for the VR chat stream, there's a video that I couldn't show you all. This is one of the VR chat worlds that I was going to go to, but I couldn't. So I'm going to show you the trailer for this one right now, because this is the official trailer for a world on VR chat that was approved. I don't understand any of this, so I don't know the memes. All I know is that TF2 is a very popular meme subject for many things, I assume. Actually, the comments did mention that this is roughly about like some grocery store.
Мой живот набухнет от хлопьев. Пятерочка тям. Ты
They're all hot, sexy, and like almost naked.
где?
Я в шкафу прячусь.
Сим, когда летняя пятерка. Это секретка, просто имба.
That's the engineer in the
Этот
fire.
Жигуль тюнинга просит.
Yeah, it's a grocery store. Look at the scout! Oh man, do you know, Chad? If Jeremy didn't retire, this would have been him in like 5 years.
До 6 часов утра. Сука, да как тебя запустить?
Then you have Ricardo in the helicopter.
Слишком много малышей в инстансе. Сел на Васю и погнал. Подглядывать за всеми через камеру — это easy.
Look at the calendar, chat. This is an official trailer for a VR chat world. Look at the calendar.
Easy. Блевануть на качелях — это полный отстой. Тимоха, что ты творишь нахуй? Это ров.
Man, I love AI images or like edited images of like TF2 characters. I don't know why, chat. There's a whole genre of these. There are tons of these. There are hundreds of these, chat. There's so many of these. I went down a rabbit hole, okay? Most of these I can't show you. This was the only safe one because it was also on VR chat. But buff TF2 characters, I don't know why, they're extremely popular. It's a grocery store chain. But like what is it about? Like I'm so because this is a world that like didn't load yesterday. So I wanted to like see what it was about. Were they Gachi? There was a Ricardo. Where is it? Where's the Ricardo? Was it after German or before German? It was after German. Here. He's in the helicopter. Classic. The spy is stealthing into your bedroom wearing this. What do you do? What do you do? Chat, the spy is stealthing into your bedroom wearing this. What do you do? Do you let him in? Do you let him sap your censure? Do you let him sap your censure? Oh, I'm gonna get banned. I'm so gonna get banned. What a classic. Can we delete the internet? No. Do you know why? Sometimes the internet makes something special, like this. Remember the game Faith, by the way? So this is another thing that I found. This is the. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's so blinding. This is the official tool that was used to make the Faith sort of like voices. So here, have this. Remember, you know, and then Faith is that horror game or the series of like horror games.
My name is Sam.
Oh Jesus Christ! But this is how the thing made it sound like this. Well, it sounds kind of bad actually. More like this. Boy mouth. Wait. Till the sweat drips down my balls. sounds French. Anyways, I just wanted to show you that because I was so curious about where like the source of the faith voice was, and I finally found it. So throwing up on swings is lame. What does that even mean? Now we're gonna go into the fun stuff today. It reminds me, there's this human mouth simulation. Yeah, the one where you move it back and forth, right? And it's like tongue thing, right? Yeah, that one is a classic. I saw other streamers rediscover it, and I was like, okay, like there's. I feel old. Like I saw Nyanas rediscover it, and I was like, dude, like how did you not know this beforehand? I'm like, oh god. Like I feel old in like many different ways because I feel like I've been tainted by the internet as a whole. But we're gonna move on. We are not here just to hang out and talk about music. We're here to also like actually like play things. However, before we play this, I need to play this song, okay? The context of this game, when you see what the game is, the song is going to make a lot of sense, okay? And as I mentioned before, a lot of these songs are DMCA, so for the people who are watching on the VODs, you don't actually get to see anything, actually. All you get to see is just the song name very quickly before it disappears, because otherwise, the VOD is very annoying to clear. So those pre-stream VODs, I have to like clear the copyright like a bunch of times, like muting the sounds. I'm gonna try a new method today. But this song is a very fascinating song that I think fits this like new mood, or like this like mood of the game that we're going to be playing, which is a game about slapping people and apparently upholding your like honor. I don't know how I found this, but it's why today is also going to be a hand cam day. So please enjoy this heavy metal song, "Black Diamond" by Stratovarius. Once I get the link for you all. It's very awkward. I should have maybe prepared the link beforehand. Sorry. Just fair warning. It is going to be loud. Do you see why I chose that song? That song is so fucking good. So again, sorry. The music. You thought the music was over. No, the music was still going. I was researching into more different types of music, especially heavy metal, because I don't really get a chance to listen to it very often. There's not very many that I like. And I think to really understand more of it, you have to like subject yourself to it in a way. I think all music has merit and value, and you have to like be able to, you have to be willing to explore what's out there to really understand things. Whatever instrument that was at the end and the beginning, that like I don't know, that like very gothic organ, I wish I knew what it was. But ever since Castlevania, which is again it's very cringe for me to say this, ever since Castlevania, that instrument has been stuck on my mind. But that song is going to be very important for this next game. Not necessarily the lyrics. The lyrics are a bit papega. Again, that's a pretty old song, so it's a different time back then. We didn't really know, right? It's a very different time. Listen, but the style of music I think fits what we're going to be playing, which is a game called Rose and Camellia Collection on the Nintendo Switch. Hope you enjoy this. Give me a moment to set it up. God, you would think that monitors would be able to, I don't know, plug themselves back in, but no. Sorry about that, chat. But hopefully you enjoyed that segment. That was a good, fun segment. That slapping game is actually very, very good. I'm very surprised by it. This next segment is going to be a game called Scarab of Ra. So, this is a weird segment to go into, but it's based on the VR chat stuff that we did yesterday. You may have noticed a reference to it. I'll explain more about why that reference was there, because apparently this was a real game on the Apple system. However, I've also got a song that I think fits with this, okay? No, it's not the theme songs from The Mummy, because that's a copyright landmine. I mean, this whole playing music for you all to, like, set the soundstage is a bit of a copyright landmine as a whole, but that one is for sure a copyright landmine, okay? Listen. The main actor was broke for years. You think I'm gonna survive a legal battle, man? Hell no, he could barely do it. So, by the way, I actually love him. But we're gonna be listening to a song as I eat ice cream and set up the rest of the stuff, sorry. So still kind of broken. Called Sphinx by Gojira. Now, I love Gojira a lot. I've talked about them a lot. Their Flying Whales album is really, really good, but even their newest stuff, and Sphinx is like a year old now, is extremely good. They're a French heavy metal band, and boy oh boy, is their music fantastic. And it's weird how strangely thoughtful their lyrics are. Like you wouldn't really expect it, or rather, I guess the stereotype is that you wouldn't expect something that's has someone screaming. You wouldn't expect them to care much about the world, and yet it seems like they really do. I really enjoyed this song a lot because of the way that it sounds like. I really enjoy the kind of like weird, I guess, like narrative that they try to like portray via the music. The way that they've composed this song, it's very, very nice. So hopefully you like it too. And I thought it was a great fit for the Scarab of Ra, because Sphinx, Scarab of like Ra, stereotypes of like that the Mummy started all the way back in the movie starring Brendan Fraser, right? I think that's a great combination as a whole, especially after the game that we just played that had stereotypes upon stereotypes. Because boy, oh boy, I'd be surprised if I'm not banned. That was a pretty intense experience. But fair warning, this song is loud. It's a heavy metal song, so be warned. Your ears might blow, but I think you'll enjoy the song despite your ears dying. Sorry, there's one significantly underrated aspect of, I think, all of Gojira's songs. The fact that they all utilize and have some of the best music videos out there. Their music videos are intensely good. It's weird how, I guess, like, strange it is, too. Again, it's like the story they're trying to tell feels like more of a fantasy thing, right? The thing that they're trying to portray. And a lot of their albums sort of have this feeling. Like the Flying Whales album, which is, to me, one of the best ones. That whole album is just this like strange story about the whales around us, and it draws such a vivid image of what's going on, and then it uses its like fantasy story to like tell real things. It's a very fascinating way of storytelling. It reminds me a lot of like the old school, like how fables used to be done. This idea of like hiding a lesson within like a myth within story, or like a parable from like the Bible or something, right? This idea of like mythology being used as a vehicle for, I guess, like more human stories, more human concerns, using the fantastical as a way of telling the story of the common person, right? It's or just some ideal that like only really affects people in the real world. It's a fascinating approach. All of Gojira stuff is amazing, but that's just the song. That's just like songwriting, right? And then you listen to their like actual like their playing ability, and they're kind of cracked too. Like they're really, really good at it. So I also love the comments on these videos because it's for every single comment, like every single time on every single music or like video about Gojira stuff, right? One of the top comments is always top 3 French creations. 1, Gojira. 2, Eiffel Tower. 3, croissants. And it's like, all right, buddy, they would make a song about you making fun of you. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's, you know what I mean? It feels childish, but I do agree. Yeah, probably number 1. Give me a moment. As I set up some Scarab of Raw, I'm going to go into a very small segment exploring a very old game. Sorry. I had to eat a quick bite before I passed out. Beer. I love listening to songs in other languages. That's a French song. Apparently, Belgian French is not too dissimilar from like France French, but at the same time, I've heard it's different enough that you kind of get tripped up on things. And I have firsthand experience of this because apparently French Canadian French is so different to the French ear that you might as well be speaking like a whole different language. But that was a great song. I mean, Stromae is a very, very great artist, and that song got them very, very popular. And what's crazy about the song is that you don't need to know the lyrics to enjoy it. But when you know the lyrics, it gets kind of like it's surprisingly heavy. It's a pretty heavy song. His most popular songs are all very heavy, like a Paparute. Holy moly, that song is actually like genuinely sad. I was like, Jesus Christ. When you listen to the lyrics and you understand what they're saying, it's like, oh my God. It's like, oh Jesus, like I feel so bad for him, and then he just starts his like dance moves, and it's like, all right, this is a great party song. I recommend you to listen to all of his stuff. His stuff is really good, but Paparute and then Allos en Danse is probably the 2 most well-known songs of theirs. Just if you know French, try to unlearn the language before you do, because you might be hit like not for this song, but Paparute, if you listen to it and you like actually pay attention to it, I think it's gonna pull at your heartstrings and you might cry a little. It's actually a very sad song about this idea of like never really knew his father because his father died. in the genocide, and it's like oh Jesus Christ. It's actually like just a straight up like just a documentary of like how he knew his like mom was like lying to him about the real reason about his like father being gone. It's like oh. And then he just pops out some of the best dance moves because the music videos for his stuff is really good. But then you realize in the music videos, all the sons are dancing with their father, and he's trying to dance with his father, but his father is just a fake. He's not there because he's dead. It's like oh. So yeah, I always find it like interesting whenever like these songs get popular. It's a bit like Pumped Up Kicks, right? That's a song about a school shooting. And they got really popular because of a catchy beat. I always love whenever people like couch these terms, couch these very complex concepts in a very catchy beat. In a weird way, it's a bit like that dance craze, right? Remember when we were playing Until Then, this idea of like tackling issues via dance crazes? Or like, you guys remember that video of that lady who had her baby in the hospital and she was just doing like a dance talking about her like baby's condition? The way we express ourselves through art, and art is a tool to talk about many different things. And this means that even the songs that stereotypically sound happy, right, using certain notes and chords and different progressions, can also hide a lot of meaning behind them. Very complex meanings that you may not even recognize on first glance. But when you do, it opens up a whole new world of stuff. It's almost like there are two layers to it. And it's weird because it works from a storytelling perspective. They want you to feel that conflict between wanting to dance and also realizing that you can't ever mask the pain that you feel. Carla Bruni, Quelqu'un ou m'a dit is one of your favorite French songs. I probably butchered that pronunciation because my coworker has said that my French is at the level of a 5-year-old. But I will add that to the list. Thank you for showing that. I'll also post it in the Discord channel for you because I know that you're not there. Hello. Discord members, chat member Suwarkle posted this song and said this is their favorite French song. I too will listen to this later. But thank you for sharing though. I'm always on the lookout for new songs. So again, you want to share your songs? Go right ahead. I will gladly listen to your songs. I love listening to anything. Except for maybe like the Teletubbies theme song. But preempt all of you. I'm gonna walk away and I'm gonna move on. We're gonna move on to the real, well, not the real piece. I think the first game was really good, but we're gonna move on to Cryptmaster. Give you a moment to set things up. You're super bad at picking favorite songs because your moods change and sometimes you hate the music that you love during the moods. But I think that's fine, right? I think I feel like that's like a very normal thing. You know what I mean? But I also feel like I feel your frustration too because when I'm trying to pick songs for the stream, so I go into how I pick songs for the stream very, very often. I run into that same issue where it's like you have to pick a song that fits the mood because if you don't, it just doesn't work as well. But that's the nice part about songs, and that there's a song for every single mood too. So in a weird way, I'm kind of actually excited to like now have to find something new to fit some new mood that I'm feeling. Because one day I might be happy, and then right before stream I might get sad, and it's like, all right, well, time to change it up, right? And it's fun for me because it forces me to explore new avenues, even if I don't want to. But I do empathize with you a lot. But I'm glad that you opened up to us. Therapy fees are $500 an hour, please. I'm just kidding. But no, I actually do appreciate it. And again, I actually go through that same problem with trying to choose songs myself too for the stream. So especially for Until Then. Listen, I don't know when that game is happy or like sad. I get whiplash. So I have a list of songs for various moods, and I'm like, okay, play this song if it's sad, play this song if it's somber, play this song if it's like a romantic, play this song if it's funny. Like I don't know. So I pick a bunch of songs before. I'll show you guys the checklist after in Discord. But let's move on to Cryptmaster because it finally loaded. For a $5,000 VR headset, I'm hoping that the Apple Vision Pro has more apps than nothing. But we're going to see exactly what it has together, chat, before we sign off. Because we had a good day today playing some funny games, but boy oh boy am I tired, so we gotta, figure this stuff out. Go down here, wait. Oh shoot, sorry, wrong one, sorry. Here. Yeah, sure, go all the way down there, yeah, sure, okay. We're gonna see what the Apple Vision Pro actually has going for it. Because honestly, for a $5,000 headset, I really do hope the apps are at least fun to use. But it seems to me like there isn't really much here, because if you look at this list, right? This is the official page for all the Apple Vision Pro apps. So you have Inua, Story in Ice and Time, Synth Riders, Explore POV, Juno for YouTube, which is an official YouTube client. It's interesting. Rewild, Spatial Nature, Beat Punch. I think this game is a top 10 hit. I think Tiny Fins is going to be a top 10 hit. It's Disney Plus in the VR. I don't know why you want that. Sports fans. I'm sorry, this is... Sports? TikTok. Wait, VR concept. Concerts. Save the multiverse. Zillow Immersive. Sky Guide. Space Vision. The best games for the Apple Vision. Demio, Thrasher, Vacation Simulator. Wait, see all. Chat, this thing sucks. Reddit. Wow, that's okay. Well, again, $5,000 headset. What do you get for it? What experiences do you get? Okay, imagine this in 4K. You get to play a story in Ice and Time. What? It's a story game. Wait, okay, this one actually looks kind of sick though. We also need to see what the FaceTime looks like, because I'm very curious what the fake face looks like. Huh. How about Synth Raiders or Riders? Okay, but this is just a shittier Beat Punch. I mean, a Beat Saber. Well, not shittier. It's a whole different game, but... Huh. I do like the fact that it's a bit of an AR thing. That does sound cool. What's this? Immersive video experiences. You know what? The only immersive video experience that you need, chat, is this. Hey, Apple fans. If you get an Apple Vision Pro, please... If you get an Apple Vision Pro, I'm begging you, watch this video on it. Tell me how nice this video is in 4K, chat. This is a YouTube 3D VR video called VR 360 Flushed Down the Toilet. Just like your $5,000 was. Please do this in like a VR thing, okay? Please use this in the Apple Vision Pro. Wait. I don't want to go yet. Who is she flushing? She flushed us down. No! Imagine this in 4K. Chat, this is a 4K video. Imagine this in 4K in your Apple Vision Pro. $5,000 gets you a level of quality that I can't even begin to comprehend with my own eyes. This must look so real. Why are there so many of these? Skibidi Toilet. What is a Skibidi Toilet School? Flush down the toilet in VR. This is the one we saw last time. Fight for me. Fight for me. Yay, we're being flushed. Anyways, good night, everyone. You're going to be flushed down the toilet. Please enjoy your trip down the toilet. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm tired. Tomorrow, I don't know what we're doing. I was thinking until then, but I'm outwarded, so it might be Kenshi tomorrow for the entire day. We need to rebuild our fighting colony. So again, it's more of a Resident Sleeper day. I have no more weird games to show you all, as far as I can tell, so... There's not really much that I can really do for you tomorrow. That's like very interesting or cool. But sometimes you don't need interesting or cool. Sometimes you just want chill, okay? It's also good because I don't think any of you are going to play Kenshi, so it's non-spoilery. Whereas like Cryptmaster, I know some of you were avoiding it because of spoilers, as well as Until Then. And I think tomorrow's a good day to just hang out, chill out, build some stuff, and see how far it goes. We're gonna try to build like a fighting ring, okay? I'm gonna try to book a demo for the Apple Vision Pro and watch one of these videos. I'm going to see if they allow me to do that because I think it would be funny. Can you imagine watching this in VR in the Apple Vision Pro FaceTime? What does this look like? Ew. What is this? How do I sort by new? A guided tour. Wait, is this a guided tour? Let's watch this.
Hi, I'm Alessandra, and I'm here to tell you about So this is the home view of Vision Pro. The home view is where you access
Wait, so you look at it and you pinch your fingers.
and tap your fingers together to select.
I will say, I actually think that this navigation model is a superior one. The laser beam is cool, right? But the problem with the laser beam is that it has accuracy issues, and it has a bit of a translation issue where if you don't have the controllers, it doesn't really work. The Valve Index controllers are really good for pointing with, but if you don't have like a controller, your next best alternative is to like put your hand somewhere that you can't even see. It's like disconnected. And so what do? Well, you get lost, right? This I think is a much more usable way of doing it that doesn't really tax you too much in a physical sense, which is weird to say because if you use VR, you want to be taxed on some level, but still, it feels better to just do the look at the picture.
Notice that the room dims around the picture
Oh, yeah.
to make the
Cool, have a panoramics.
for the first time parts about Apple Vision to a moment in time.
It's exactly like that. Open Apple TV.
Okay, well that's
And
boring.
confined to the
Workspace. I think okay. I also think the workspace is also going to be like a major thing.
sun you like. It has this
The problem with the workspace thing though is that if you don't already have some level of usable space, it's kind of weird. It's like having a virtual desktop. However, now the question is, since if this thing can do everything on its own, right? Do you spend how many hundreds of dollars on a PC, or do you spend thousands of dollars on a shitty pair of glasses?
so that spatial audio is actually coming.
I know my
Hi,
answer.
My name is Yuri. Nice to meet you.
Hey.
Hey. So I'm a Mac, and I wanted to show you how FaceTime feels like on Apple Vision Pro today.
Okay.
So
What does
let's
she see?
scale the window so I'm life size, and it's gonna feel like I'm in the room with you.
Let me try it.
What does she see?
It's pretty cool.
My colleague Kristen's gonna call you now.
Your FaceTime look different from Yuri.
I'm wearing Apple Vision Pro,
What the fuck is that?
just like you. This is my persona. You can see my facial expressions, my hand gestures, and it's all in real time.
Huh.
This is the next step for VTubers. Chad, do you understand what I'm saying? Like this is, I'm gonna drop the stick figure model, and I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get an Apple Vision Pro just to have like a different way of VTubing. I'm gonna do this: streaming PC plays games, then gaming PC. Okay, Apple Vision Pro feeds the output of my persona into the thing. I use that as my VTuber model. You can actually just make a real fake person
Wow.
for $5,000
The same way?
compared to using VTube Studio for like $25.
Your persona's awesome. Anyways, I'll let you get back to Alessandra. See you later.
Though it may be a persona. Can I have a persona
Alright,
or no?
take
you and your space.
Now this is
Okay, how good is this? I'm curious how good this actually
So
feels like.
now immerse. You can bring your Mac into an enormous display.
What's this? Mac Virtual
Go
Display.
ahead.
What's this?
So the
What?
laptop screen just appeared into the space in front of me. So maybe
You know what's crazy? I know I said the workspace feature would be interesting and cool and that it has limitations. This is probably the one thing I wouldn't use a workspace for. Because in my mind, I guess this is useful if you want to do things that need more power, like video editing, sure. Because then you have a machine, right? But then, and then presumably the Apple Vision Pro can't do this because so much of its power is being spent on running the damn thing. But then, why? Like, I guess it's just more of like a why. Because to get this, right? You would have to get your laptop, put it somewhere, unless you have an external keyboard and a mouse, and then wear the glasses, like wear the Apple Vision
Place in front
Pro
of me.
to see everything.
If you hold out your finger, something may land on it.
I'm just gonna say it. If there is no Nintendogs for the iOS, I think they're missing out. Anyways, good night, everyone. I think we should all petition Apple to make a Nintendogs. Or like an Apple Bone. Apple Bone? Applebee? Applebone. Applebee. Like an Applebee or something. You know what I mean? Just like call it Applebee's and you can raise your own bee. Then they can sue Applebee for using their trademark name despite having come before. I think there's potential. It's not for $5,000, but I haven't tried it, so I'm very curious to try it out. Maybe the dinosaur eating me would change my mind.
okay.
I would be down to be
That's
eaten.
what we got for you.
Bye, everyone.